What's good, yo? Welcome to another episode of Making Gains TV. This is episode number 6. I got my man Craig Merrick of M.A.D.E Strength and Conditioning.
Sir.
Tell me a little bit about yourself, Craig. Where you from?
So I'm originally from Phillipsburg, New Jersey. Played there at Peaburg, went on to college, graduated from college. A little older, so I'm not going to bore you too much with the front end stuff.
Where'd you go to school?
I originally went to American International College up in Springfield, Mass.
Nice.
Then after college, got into teaching a little bit for the New Jersey Correctional Facility. I actually taught
that's awesome.
recreation there, so we actually lifted weights inside the prison, which was pretty cool.
I forgot you told me about that.
You had to be able to bench 135, you had to be able to bench 225 or 315, because all the plates were welded onto the bar, so you couldn't have 5s, you couldn't have 10s, because we'd have fights with them.
So you had no options.
So it was cool. So I taught there for a while. Then I taught at the women's facility. Left there, moved out to Colorado. Out there, I moved out there basically to train. Hooked up, started training competitive skiers out there. Came back east after a while, and then started M.A.D.E Strength and Conditioning. We started within a gym, about 600 square feet, and then we just kind of kept growing, and we've expanded to our current spot in Pennsylvania. Then we actually just opened up a second facility in New Jersey.
That's awesome. All right, so we got to talk about how unique your experience is, because in a correctional facility, so you were like in the yard working out with like teaching,
Yeah, it was cool. We did.
What was that like?
It was neat. I mean, we did a lot of things. We did, we did basketball tournaments. The biggest thing was the weightlifting.
Yeah.
It was a way of, and this was back in 98, 99. So now they don't even allow that anymore in the jails. But back then, I mean, it was cool. I mean, I've seen some unique exercises, I have to say. A lot of half rep pull-ups, chin-ups, things like that.
Range of motion didn't matter.
What did it for me one day, they were over there, they were doing, a bunch of guys were doing dips and different things, and dips and curls like 135, you know what I mean?
Man.
These guys were jacked. And I said, what are you guys doing today? And they're like, Coach, we're doing front arms and back arms. And I'm like, okay. So it was a unique experience, but
front arms and back arms.
The best thing for me though is I think how it kind of played role later on in life is how to deal with different personalities and diversity. You know what I mean? And after that, I got into more of the counseling aspect inside. So it was always that willingness to help people and stuff like that. But it was a very negative atmosphere, so I knew I had to bounce out after a while.
Did you feel it was like you versus them at all? Like
not so much me, because they liked what I brought to them. You know what I mean? They enjoyed that. You know what I mean? Versus being in the system a little more. But I mean, it was a good starting place. I just knew I didn't want to put 30 years in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
In terms of quality of life, that's pretty,
absolutely.
That's pretty tough.
So so kind of moved on from there, and then.
And then you said you taught school in New Jersey.
Well, I taught there.
In New Jersey.
Yeah, I was a teacher and teaching assistant there for a while. So kind of hopped around within that for a little bit. It was a great job, great benefits, but when you have a passion for something,
absolutely.
You gotta. It doesn't allow you to not chase it down.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
You can't hide it.
No.
No.
It was always something I always came back to. I always trained, I always worked. Even for me, it got to the point in my athletic career where I enjoyed the preparation a little more than playing, if that makes sense. I enjoyed the weight room. I enjoyed, being prepared for everything. And I think that's eventually why I got into coaching. The greatest feeling to me in the world is being called coach. I mean, I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
When I hear coach, I mean, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that.
So much really responsibility. Cool. I think so many people take that lightly, that you're a coach and a mentor and almost a role model. Like someone's trusting you with their journey, which is pretty much all that gets remembered. Like, you know, you could win that game, and that game was only a couple minutes, but, you know, documenting and remembering, and the journey lasted, you know, nth amount of times. So like moving forward, now, you know, you went from one facility to two, which is awesome. So what does a MADE training session kind of look like?
So our biggest thing that we always do is we're always assessing the athletes.
Yeah.
When they come in, we're always putting them through an evaluation. It's not like an FMS, but it's FMS-ish, you know, functional movement screen. It's kind of our version of it, you know, where we're looking for certain things. But from all that information then, we put them on the proper programs that they need to be on. But our basic overview of a training session would be athletes come in, first and foremost, we shake their hands, ask them how their day was.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things, I think. If that's a tidbit I can give anybody, I mean, that's a huge thing. There's not too many businesses that you go to where you get to interact with somebody like that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to be said that you can get a read on how that person is for that day. You know what I mean? Like, how you doing goes a long way when you're talking about a training session.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm tired. Well, you know what kind of training session you're going to get from somebody. You know, I feel good today, coach. Well, then, you know, we're going to get after a little bit. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of auto-regulating just in that thing, you know. But so after we do all that stuff, you know, they'll get into their foam rolling and all that good stuff. Then we get into our warm-up, which basically our warm-up is to address a lot of the mobility issues that these kids have or athletes have, you know, a lot of muscle imbalances. And then from there, you know, of course, our biggest thing is warming them up, getting that nervous system ready to roll. Then after that, we'll get into our speed training, you know, running technique, box jumps, you know, CNS type training.
That's my favorite.
Exactly. And, you know, we're always going in different planes too. We don't just always stick in the linear plane. You know, we're trying to work different planes of running because most of the athletes we train are multi-directional.
Yes.
So therefore, we got to train them in multi-planes. So, you know, after that, we'll get into more. You know, we'll get into our strength training. Now, our strength training is based off of progressions and regressions of everything. We'll have athletes that, you know, are a little more advanced. We can progress them, and then, you know, that's sort of like our individualization of the program is always we're working off a progression and regression, you know, template continuum where we're always moving. And then, of course, you know, we'll get into conditioning.
Yeah.
You know, my biggest thing in our training sessions, I always say, you know, we're training movements, not muscles.
Yes.
You know, we're not bodybuilders. We're not, you know, we're not worried about bicep curls. Hey, we'll throw you a bone once in a while. Front arms, right? Front arms and back arms. That's the proper
front arms and the back arms.
Anatomy terms.
Right out the butt. Front arms and back arms.
But you know, we'll make sure that we're always training, you know, hip extension, knee flexion, you know, push, pull, you know, that type of stuff that's going to transfer over biomechanically to their
I think, like strong technique is the biggest part. Like you take your technique everywhere. Like you know, people that kind of want to pump technology out of their gyms. Like we have this machine, that machine, XYZ machine, and this read and that read. Like those things are great in those spaces, but your technique travels with you. Like if you can come in and your technique is better when you leave, that goes with you all the time. So I'm huge on technique over technology, especially with like, you know, the younger guys that have, you know, don't know what they're doing. If they have good technique here and they take it with them to their schools, you know, from high school to college, from college to wherever, their technique will always be with them. And then, like when you get like the, you know, prime time specimen athlete, then I think it's like, all right, it's time to get a little technology and, you know, some real minute things like some dart fish and like get the cameras out on them and like
that stuff's you know, that stuff's great and data collection is awesome. But here's the thing, man, you got to do something with that data. Just getting all this data and taking heart rates, and it's like people wear their Fitbits. Now I'm not against them, but you know they'll wear their Fitbit. I said, man, I didn't sleep well last night. This thing said I was up 30 times. Well, that's great, but what are you going to do to fix that? You know what I mean? It's the same thing, like, you know, with Tendo units and stuff. I love it, but I think there's a time and place. And you know, we have the athletes, a majority of the athletes we train are kids that are just going to benefit getting stronger, you know, more mobile. And do they really need resistant machine hooked up to them, some sort of special hydraulic machine or anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Them doing a proper lunge or a proper hip hinge is going to better serve their movement.
It's funny you
down
bring
the
up
road.
the tendos. We had him in college, and one of the strongest guys is like, his clean speed wasn't the fastest, and
Yeah.
he was just like one day he was pulling and pulling and trying to like get the fastest speed of the day. He was like, F that, like put the weight on the bar, like
moving.
it's great, but at some point, what does it really count for? Like that specific movement is great, but it's not going to help us out on the field, or
And again, I think levels. If you're
Yeah.
an Olympic level athlete, I think there's a time and place for It's just like periodization. Like people, I think, take periodization just I think it can be simpler. I'm more
Yeah.
of like simplistics. Simple movements, simple. Like your facility here, just simple, man. 45-pound plate here weighs the same as my gym.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's about doing proper movements and clean movements. And we always say quality over quantity all the time.
Yeah.
It's the more quality you do, the better it's going to serve you down the road.
I have to shout out your Instagram because I check it out, and I always even I learn something or really learn something every time I check it out. Like a stretch I forgot about or a stretch I didn't know about yet, and I think that's kind of why we got you here, because your passion, your value that you add to this space is amazing. Like you're always pumping out stuff for free, which is great. So then you went from one space to two spaces. What was that? Like, making gains TV, we want to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, you literally doubled. Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of all of our goals. We could double our strength or double our output. You were able to do that. What was that transition like?
I'm still in the midst of it. It's harder than I thought. It's done a couple things for me. It's, when our original space in Nazareth, we thought we could pretty much replicate it in New Jersey. We pretty much wanted to take our exact system and put it there. And what we found out is that, the layout's different. It didn't work that way.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So our principles are the same, our mission's the same, everything remains the same. It's just our approach had to change a little bit. It's like coaching one football team versus another. You got different types of athletes, different things, so you got to adjust accordingly. The biggest thing with it is obviously time. You can't be in two places at once, so that's one of my biggest things. But I will say, on a positive note of it, the one thing it's done, and I'm very appreciative of, is it's taught me how to delegate a little more.
Yeah.
Delegate some duties, and kind of a control, not in a bad way, but when your name's on something, it's very important to you. So I'm very, but now I've learned to trust the guys that work for me, and I'm very fortunate to have some great guys that train with me. So now it's sort of like, actually, I would think I would be busier, but it almost seems like I'm not as busy, because I've learned to kind of, okay, you're in charge of this, you got this,
That's awesome.
you got this. So, it's about having the right people.
I know what you mean, like the control. Like, you don't want to be a control freak. You just want to deliver a good product. And it's like, I don't think, it's never to blame, but until you build that trust, you have to be kind of, you're never out of the trenches ever. But until you can, pass duties off, it feels like you almost worry, like, our space here, this is my baby, like, now you have two kids now, it's like, you don't not feed one of them because the other one's got to eat, so it's, so I could completely understand how.
It's finding the balance.
It's total balance.
It's a big thing.
But help, good help is hard to find, and it sounds like you have awesome guys.
Yeah, I
that
do,
help you with
and I
it.
couldn't be happier with what we're doing, and the again, it goes back to the quality that we're putting out. We could open 5 gyms, but if that quality is not there and it's just about quantity, it's not going to last long.
Yeah.
Bad word travels fast.
Bad word travels fast. People kind of seek out, like, you can't, pull the wool over people's eyes for too long.
Now you get over it a little bit, but it catches up.
So let's talk about some of your athletes. You've been in it for a longer time, and you're like the old homie to me right now. So not old, like not OLD.
No, I got you, bro. I got you.
Like old homie. So what's like like some of your success stories. You can be like specific or not. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you get to see some of these guys and girls grow up, and
Yeah,
you know,
it's kind of cool. I mean, we one of the well, right now we got some pretty cool things going on. We have a guy that's actually just getting picked up by the Jets. He just got signed. We trained him. He had a combine. He was a guy that had a tryout last year. Didn't go so well. His agent said, you know, you need to take this time off. You know, it goes back to all the combine measurements. So he worked with us for about 4 months. And he went and he had his thing. He did really well. So he's got a lot of teams after him right now, but the Jets are going to sign him. So that's like one. That's you know it's a great victory for us. You know what I mean? I mean
Yeah.
it's just and he's one of these kids that's just very deserving of it.
Yeah.
His work ethic is there. There's everything about it. So that's the football side of it, right?
Yeah.
When I started this business, I thought I was going to be training football players and wrestlers. You know, we're in the Lehigh Valley, man. It's the hotbed for this stuff. But honestly, some of the really cool things we got going is we train a lot of jiu-jitsu fighters. We train arguably the number one jiu-jitsu girl in the world right now. She's a 14-year-old girl, Grace Gundrum. She's actually right from Bethlehem. She's insane.
it's scary. It's scary to
Scary,
watch
man.
her. It's just
Scary.
like,
There's no off button with that kid.
Oh.
Like, you know, we always have to.
that's probably the biggest compliment you give a fighter.
Yeah,
No
I mean
off button.
it's insane.
Like, that means you have to get peeled off. Like,
she's something. Yeah,
I gotta rip you away before
she's
something bad
incredible.
happens.
I mean, and so so that we train a lot of them, and the other thing I laugh about, but it's a really cool thing. Like, we train seven or more of the top world ranked Irish dancers, which is insane, right?
Yeah.
You know, so it was one of those
Get your
things.
jiggy on, I guess,
It was
right?
one of those things. We kind of we had one that came to us. She had a lot of injuries, and we helped her and got her back, and she did well. And she went on, and then just same thing. Just good word travels,
Yeah.
and that's one of our biggest clienteles right now, which is pretty insane, but it's fun because it's
So
different.
new and different.
Yeah,
You just gotta
it's so
let it do what
different
it do.
than what we're used to dealing with. We
Yeah.
got most of our football guys. I want to get faster. I want to jump higher. I want to do this. These kids just want to get better. They want to they want to be injury free. They don't want to have that stuff. But we trained a lot of sports. I mean, one of my favorite athletes, younger athletes, is probably Doug Erning.
Okay.
I trained Doug since he was a freshman in high school, and you have those athletes you grow super close to.
Yeah.
He's that kid. Like, every step of the way, he's in contact with me.
Yeah.
Graduation parties and everything. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll be at his wedding someday. You know what I mean? You just
Yeah.
grow that. So, there's a lot of kids, and at the end of the day, man, it's always about relationships.
Yeah.
Relationships is where it's.
Speaking of relationships, I think our relationship is cool. Like, I reached out to you, and then I came over to your facility, and people could think like we're competitors because we do the same things. We're both strength and conditioning, both football backgrounds, both in the Lehigh Valley. But it's like, if we both want what's best for our athletes, does that make us like competitors? That's kind of a question I ask myself. It's like why not collaborate versus try and compete if we both want, neither of us can handle all the athletes in Pennsylvania. Like,
No.
what is wrong with, kind of, maybe putting out some good work together, like.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more, man.
I think, when I came over and talked to you, I wanted to leave like 5 different times, but the conversation was
just
so
got
good.
going.
It was it's like we kept rolling, and it was amazing to see because unfortunately there's been situations where I couldn't collaborate with people even though I really wanted to, and it was so easy to I think I reached out to you on Instagram or Facebook,
and then we texted and
you're like, yeah, come on over.
hooked
I was
up
like,
that day,
sweet. The parking lot was full of ice. That was it. That was probably the biggest obstacle coming
that was
over.
it, man. But
and you even gave me some equipment I haven't stopped using. That was like,
I mean, I
if
think-
you've been here and you've pushed the sled with the wheels, it's his fault. If you didn't like it, it's his
mine.
fault. If you
You
did
can have
like
it, you can have it.
if you did like it, it was my fault. If you didn't like it, it was his fault.
But I know, man. I mean, a collaboration is key. We as coaches, we're so easy to tell kids or athletes, we're so easy to give them advice and expect them to trust in everything we do. But then I think sometimes we let our egos get in the way, and we don't do that ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, I belong to a couple of coaches mastermind groups where we have calls every Thursday. It's it's like a video conference call, and there's probably like 20 coaches on the line, and we're just all talking, and just, if you're not talking, you're listening. People are asking questions, and you're just bouncing things off each other. I mean, you're gonna learn from everybody. You know what I mean? Like, you and I talk, I'm gonna learn things. At the end of the day, man, when it comes to training, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're gonna do things that are gonna be beneficial to your athletes that I may not do, and vice versa. I always use the analogy of like restaurants. You go downtown Bethlehem or downtown Easton, and there's restaurants on every corner.
Yeah.
You're gonna go to the restaurant where you get the best service, the best price, and the best product. And as long as they're doing that, I mean, you're gonna go back. You're gonna keep, and that's with us too. It's the same thing, but it doesn't have to be a competitive thing. Listen, it's about learning. I feel like we always got to keep learning, especially. I mean, this is new, man. Like, this is new. I mean, people think it's old, but it's always changing.
It's always changing.
You can read something this week, and next week it's something else.
I feel like it's so new that it's not everywhere. That's how you know it's like new.
Right.
Like hospitals, doctors, nurses are everywhere. Strength and conditioning isn't in every school. Like D2, D3 schools are still working on full-time guys, and high schools are still working on full-time providers, and it's trying to create and recreate and teach and reteach is something that's so important that we shouldn't be like fighting over people. We should just be teaching each other. I love going to coaching clinics. It's one of my favorite things to do.
I'm the same thing, man.
I'm like
Seminars
taking notes and
love it.
asking
Most
questions.
of the
I'm
stuff
that
we
dude
do.
in the first row, like my glasses on, like tell me more. Oh, we'd have to leave.
I mean, come on, man. I mean, seriously, most of the stuff we do is begged, borrowed, and stolen. You know what I mean? Like you go to a seminar, you take a little bit from this guy, you steal a little bit from this guy, you do this, and it's, and you kind of make it your system.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't sit at home and think of a squat. I didn't come up with that. You know what I mean? Somebody else did.
Yeah.
And then, you employ it, and we all have our little spin to it, or it's our coaching personality. That's what I mean. I could give somebody my programs, are they going to get the same results as me? Probably not. You know what I mean? Because it goes with the.
It's what you do. It's what you do best. You
Absolutely.
do great, and like that's what I feel like. If you're comfortable and confident in what you're doing, like why not share it? Why feel like
passion, man? You gotta have that passion.
The juice, all about the juice.
Yeah.
So speaking about competition and passion, you're in like two very special markets, and like you're in between two states, and probably the most famous rivalry in the area, Easton versus Peaburg. How does that play out, being in like kind of in both those pockets? You get those guys in there trying to. Yeah,
well, we being we have the facilities, but we also are the strength coaches for Phillipsburg High School. But we train a lot of Easton kids, and I think one of the things why that rivalry is so good, and because they're the same. They're the same
so
same exact type of kids, same exact hardworking, tough, hard-nosed kids. So I think that's why that rivalry is so good and will always be, such a big deal, because you're dealing with same personalities. It's huge. But I mean, they'll be in the gym together, and you there's a little tension sometimes. But all in all, man, they know they're in there to get better.
Do you ever use that? I love using like the.
Oh, we always do. We always do.
Like these guys, maybe that's why.
A lot of the Peaburg kids this year, after the Peaburg Easton game, when they start coming in, we were writing a score on their programs. Easton, just things to kind of get it. But it's the kids are good about it. They get it. I made a couple bets with some of the Easton kids. I had to wear an Easton jersey for a while. I probably had to do about 500 push-ups. All the bets I made, but. It's good, and it's again the kids are what it's about in that game, because they work so hard for it, and they know, and and again, they come to a guy like me. I'm fortunate that they come to me and they want to get better, you know, because them getting better is going to make that competition better. And but all in all, it's good fun. We have one rule though at the Nazareth gym: no Eastern stuff the month of November. But I think they wear it more when I say that. But it's good. We have a lot of good fun with it. It's a good time of the year.
So to wrap the show up, why we asked you to be on here was like, kind of talking to you, your passion, your like juice was pretty evident right away. So if you could kind of speak on that, like how does it transfer to your clients? How do they kind of deliver it back to you? Like what makes you so passionate about working in this space, sports, strength and conditioning, sports performance, you know, helping people make gains?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, one of the biggest compliments we get is instilling confidence in athletes. You know, there's not one exercise that we can say, hey, if you do this, you're going to be a better football player. If you squat a certain amount of weight, you're going to be a better, you know, hockey player or whatever. But I can say the more confident you get, that's the number one transferable trait that'll transfer over to any sport. You know, a little more confidence you have, you can play with a little more swagger, you know, you're going to be a better athlete. So, I mean, I think that's one of the things is that, you know, the passion to give that confidence. So many of these kids just kind of lack that. And if we're able to kind of put that into them and give that to them, I mean, it's a life lesson. It goes beyond just sports and training. I mean, it goes through life. And, you know, I think that's kind of our drive. You know, we're not going to train. Not every athlete we train is going to go to the NFL or you know, NBA or whatever. But if there's one thing we can do, we can make them, you know, better people.
A little more confident. I think like that's the hugest thing we try to do here, especially like I see it with like box jumps. People get like nervous and they like half do it, and then maybe in a week or two later they just shoot. I think if more people just shoot, had a little confidence, just like to go shoot and start a YouTube show, you know, like just shoot and reach out to the guy in the next town over, just shoot and you know, maybe you fail in that squat and you drop the bar, but like you're still alive, you know. I think so many people are like they're afraid to just shoot it, whether they lack confidence or they, you know, afraid of failure, or what someone might talk junk, and it's like I'm almost excited like for the show to pick up speed and people start talking trash about it.
Yeah,
and,
well,
like,
yeah, that's
like,
when you know,
you
right?
had
That's when
Craig
you know
on
you're doing
there,
well.
Craig Black, and it's interesting to see when you just like let it rip, and I think that's a huge life lesson if you can let it rip on the field and in the gym and then in the classroom. Like a kid's like, whatever, this might be wrong, but I'm gonna say it anyway, you know, versus like, because I've taught for a little bit, and like if they don't know the answer, they won't. No student will raise their hand because they're afraid to be like ridiculed in front of everyone else. And it's like, just take a stab at it. Like what's it? What's gonna kill you? What's gonna hurt?
Got to.
Cool, man. I think, you know, we sucked up enough people's time, and it was great talking to you. We could do this all day. Unfortunately, I think we blew a light out, and the camera's about to run out of memory. But great talking to you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you having me on.
Have a good one.
Thank you.